Adams administration makes revised request to suspend shelter mandate, drawing swift backlash from advocates. The Adams administration, citing the ongoing migrant crisis, has made a newly revised request of a Manhattan Supreme Court to suspend the city's long standing mandate that it provide shelter to anyone in need. The request, however, immediately drew the ire of homeless and immigrant advocates. In a letter to the court late Tuesday night, the administration laid out its request to modify the 1981 Callahan versus Corey consent decree that establishment the mandate known as right to shelter that would exempt it from the obligation in certain circumstances. The missive came after the judge in the case, Erica Edwards, who has since rescued herself from the proceedings, ordered the city to explain its latent request during a court conference late last month. The letter details two criteria for suspending the mandate: when the city or state have declared certain kinds of states of emergency, and when the number of single adults entering shelters during or for a 2 week period prior to the state of emergency is 50% higher than before the emergency, according to the letter. That would be calculated by assessing the shelter population over the preceding 2 years, excluding times of other declared housing related emergencies. Such a change is necessary, the city argues, as the right to shelter has become outmoded and cumbersome amid the ongoing migrant influx, which was not anticipated when the consent decree was issued over 40 years ago. The city's shelter population has exploded since the influx began in April 2022, from around 45,000 at that time to roughly 116,700,000 as of October 1st, a 159% rise. The mayor's chief counsel, Lisa Zornberg, said in a migrant crisis briefing on Wednesday that the administration's latest request of the court seeks to give it the flexibility necessary to navigate the continuing flow of new arrivals. It makes clear that at this particular juncture, New York City is not seeking to terminate the Callahan decree altogether, Zunberg said. Rather, it's trying to meet the emergencies of the moment by seeking to modify or temporarily suspend the decree in a way that brings sensible relief. Because from a legal perspective, it is just not sustainable for this consent decree from 40 plus years ago to be imposing requirements and the constant threat of lawsuits, as New York City needs flexibility to navigate through a humanitarian crisis. But attorneys with the Legal Aid Society, who represent the Coalition for the Homeless in the Right to Shelter case, slammed the administration's latest request in a Wednesday morning virtual press conference. Josh Goldfein, a legal aid staff attorney, said the broad changes the city is seeking would be a fundamental reputation of the safety guaranteed under the right to shelter that could leave thousands sleeping on the streets. After 40 plus years of having a right to shelter, of having basic fundamental protection for human protection for human beings in New York City of the ability to be safe from the elements, the city would change the rules so that they could turn essentially anybody away into the streets where they would be at risk of harm or death, Goldfein told reporters. That's all I have to say for this video.